to the Fourth and Long Fantasy Football Show.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Fourth and Long Fantasy Football Show. My name's Justin. Episode 65 today. Week 16 is come and gone, and we're on to Week 17. On today's episode, I'll give you a few of my Week 16 reactions. Then I'll get into my waiver wire targets and my starts of the week for Week 17. It's Fantasy Championship Week. This season has absolutely flown by. What a ride it's been. This will be my last weekly recap and preview show for the season. For next week's show, I'm going to get into my Fantasy Football Award Show, where I'll give you my MVP, Breakout, Best Value, and Rookie of the Year. And then after next week's show, I'm going to take a little break, and then I'll be back with some special film review episodes as we approach the 2022 Fantasy Football season. Your time is valuable, so let's get to it.
On today's show...
All right, so for today's show, I'll start by giving you a couple quick reactions to Week 16. I want to start by talking about James Robinson's injury and the fallout here. Those teams that were relying on Robinson in Week 16 were upset and disappointed when he went down early in the first quarter with that Achilles injury. It was later reported that he had torn his Achilles. What a blow, right? He's done for the rest of the season. We have to question his fantasy value going forward as well, right? This puts the start of next season for James Robinson in doubt. This Jaguars team is not invested in the undrafted second-year player, and there's a first-rounder and Travis Etienne waiting in the wings set to return next season. I'm concerned we may have seen the last of James Robinson in a fantasy-relevant role. I don't want to be totally pessimistic, though, right? Achilles injuries are not a deal-breaker for running backs like they used to. The two real case studies we have are Deontay Foreman and Cam Akers. Foreman, it took a few years, but he's come back strong and is leading the Titans backfield. And Cam Akers has made a miraculous recovery and is expected to play as early as Week 17, which is unreal. With the advances in medicine, it's possible that James Robinson makes a full recovery and returns to his previous form, but the deck's stacked against him as we head into 2022. Next, let's talk about rookie wide receivers. What a week it was for some of the top rookie wide receivers. Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, Rashad Bateman all found the end zone in Week 16. This class looks really strong. I'll be talking about my Fantasy Rookie of the Year on my award show next week, and I can all but guarantee you that one of these rookie wideouts will probably be the winner of that award. We've had a real influx in wide receiver talent in the NFL over the last few seasons. You look at last year's class, it included superstars like Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb. This rookie wide receiver group has tons of talent. I think we see guys like Chase, Waddle, and Smith all ranked as top 24 wide receivers next year. You got to remember, right? Most rookies level up after their first season, and if this is their floor, I want lots of Chase, Waddle, and Smith in 2022. And then finally, Amon-Ra St. Brown League winner. I'm here to take a victory lap, guys. If you've listened to this show before, you know how fond I was of the Detroit Lions rookie wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown coming into the season. He was one of my sleeper picks, and man, has he ever broke out. St. Brown has been straight up dominant over the last month of the season. Week 16 was no exception. He caught 9 for 91 and a touchdown. He also rushed for 19 yards. If you were savvy enough to grab him 6 weeks ago and have stuck with him, you've been rewarded very handsomely. If you have him, you have to start him in the fantasy championship, especially with Jared Goff now being activated off the COVID list. The question is, though, what do we make of this as we head into next season? Right, the Lions will probably look to add a big body wide receiver in the draft or through free agency this offseason. And I think that's okay, right? That's not St. Brown's role in this offense. I compared St. Brown to Golden Tate before the season, and that's what I expect for the wideout when we look back on his career. I'll own a lot of Amon-Ra St. Brown next season, and I'll probably have him ranked in that low-end wide receiver 2 range next year. All right, let's get into my waiver wire ads for Week 17. Before I get there, last week I had Ronald Jones, Justin Jackson, and Gabriel Davis. Unfortunately, Gabriel Davis was ruled out due to COVID after this episode was released, but Rojo and Jackson both had strong games, and Justin Jackson carried me to a championship in one of my PPR leagues. He performed really, really well. I'm going to get my Week 17 list started with a running back, and it's going to be Jacksonville Jaguars running back Dare Ogunbowale. After James Robinson went down in Week 16, it was Ogunbowale who stepped up and was the clear feature back for the Jags. Now, this isn't exciting, right? Because the Jaguars are probably the worst offense in the NFL, but I want volume in fantasy football, and Dare should get all the volume he can handle in Week 17. If you're in a pinch for a running back, or if you're a James Robinson owner, go grab Ogunbowale as a touch-based running back too for Week 17. Next on my waiver wire list is going to be a quarterback, and it's going to be San Francisco 49ers quarterback Trey Lance. Jimmy G looks doubtful for Week 17. Shanahan is preparing as if Trey Lance will be the starting quarterback for the Niners this week. Let him loose, Shanahan. This guy is a special talent. He has a full complement of weapons at his disposal, a healthy Debo, a healthy Kittle, and a run game that can hang with any. I like Lance as a low-end quarterback 1 in Week 17. And then finally, my last waiver wire ad for week 17 is going to be a wide receiver, and it's going to be Buffalo Bills wide receiver Isaiah McKenzie. I'm doubling down on Bills wide receivers here in back-to-back weeks. McKenzie broke out in week 16 against the New England Patriots defense, 11 catches, 125 yards, and a touchdown. Both Gabriel Davis and Cole Beasley are unvaccinated and are in the protocols right now, which means they are very likely to miss week 17. That leaves Stephon Diggs and McKenzie as the clear top two options in this wide receiver core. I'm grabbing and starting McKenzie as a wide receiver 3 flex option in week 17. All right, let me get into my starts of the week for week 17. Last week, I had quarterback Matt Stafford, running back James Robinson, and wide receiver Antonio Brown. I'm going to get my week 17 list started with a quarterback, and it's going to be Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts. Hurts was relatively quiet in week 16, but he should bounce back nicely for your fantasy football championship. Week 17 brings a matchup against the Washington football team, who just got flat out embarrassed by the Cowboys in front of a national audience on Sunday Night Football. Injuries to their run game should afford more opportunities for Hurts to carry the load here. I'm starting Jalen Hurts as a top 5 quarterback in week 17. Next, I'm going to go with a running back, and it's going to be Tampa Bay Buccaneers running back Ronald Jones. My waiver wire ad of the week for last week is now my start of the week for week 17. Even though Keyshawn Vaughn had a big touchdown run this past week, Rojo was the running back to own in Tampa, and week 17 brings a cake matchup against the Jets defense. This feels like a game where the Bucs defense gets a pick 6, Brady throws an early touchdown pass, and then they rely heavily on their run game to put the game away. I'm starting Rojo as a top 5 running back in week 17, starting with confidence in your fantasy championships. And then finally, my last start of the week is going to be a wide receiver, and it's going to be Dallas Cowboys wide receiver CeeDee Lamb. CD was one of the few Cowboys skill players to be left out of the end zone in week 16, but I think that changes in week 17. The Cowboys get the Cardinals this week, and the Cardinals have proven susceptible to getting beat through the air. I think Dak helps out his slot god CD and greases that squeaky wheel. Start CeeDee Lamb as a top 5 option this week. So that'll do it. I want to wish you all a happy new year. I'll be back next week with my fantasy award show. Please remember to comment and like on this video on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. This has been the 4th and Long Fantasy Football Show. Good luck this week, everybody. See you next week.
Royalty-free music courtesy of Ben Sound. The views and opinions expressed on today's episode are that of the 4th and Long Fantasy Football Show. Remember to like and subscribe.